Hello, my peaceful and profitable entrepreneurs. Happy Wednesday. Today we are talking about how to pitch on your free calls or your free audits or your free whatever without feeling salesy or putting on the pressure. Basically, I've heard recently a lot of people saying like selling without selling. And so that's something I definitely want to talk about and dive into today. I know this is going to be really supportive for you. This isn't a script, but this is just a framework to support you to really have really great calls and fill your roster. So we're going to jump in just a minute, but if you're here and joining, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. As always, leave your questions, leave your comments. I want this to be like super helpful for you. So this is basically free coaching. If you want to hop on and get your questions answered or any ahas or takeaways, please throw them at me. So we're going to dive in. Any housekeeping stuff? Let's see. No? Just regular old. If you leave a comment or a question, you'll be entered to win. I have a special giveaway for you. It's my Creating Sales Post Masterclass. It's a playbook and a live stream, and this is just the literal framework for how you can write sales posts, because we know that value content is super valuable, and you need to have posts specifically selling your offer, your service, pointing, to the pain points, why you, all those things. So this is a giveaway that is just super helpful. I've gotten a ton of great feedback on it, and I know it will help you as you write these posts, just because it's not something most of us are taught. So it gives you a literal framework for that. So I hope y'all are having an amazing December. I'm wearing my green today. I feel very festive. It is the holiday season. It is upon us. My daughters are doing a countdown for when we leave for vacation, for when we open presents, and it's just all fast and quickly approaching. So I hope that you are enjoying this holiday season and that is, just as peaceful as it can be right now. If you're new, my name is Jordan Ilderton. I own Ilderton Bookkeeping and Coaching. So I have been in the online space now for 8 years, basically a dinosaur. I have gone from just bookkeeping services and charging $35 an hour to now having coaching business, one-to-one high-level clients, and making 20K revenue months. And so I have a lot to share, and this journey has been an amazing one, and I know what is possible, and that's what I want to share with you, and have all these live streams for you to binge and get your questions and comments answered. So that is who I am. That is what I do. I only support clients one-to-one currently and help them, to create 5K, 7.5K, 10K plus months. I mean, we have clients who are doing multi-million dollars of revenue. I know that most of the people who hire me are not there, and that's totally fine. I can kind of support people on both ends of the spectrum. So if you're here, you are in a great place, and we're going to get you some great information today. So what I said in the promo for this is, it's kind of an unpopular opinion, but selling without selling. I want to talk about this because I very much, messing with my hair, very much believe in go-giver, providing value. I have tons of live streams, tons of content all about that. And there is a place for literal selling in your business, literally making a pitch to someone in your business. I'm not saying that, it needs to be too salesy. We've all been on the other end of icky sales conversations. And so what we're talking about today is how you do not end up as one of those people, but how you still sell in a way that supports the other person and book sales for your business, because that's what you need to stay in business, are sales. And so let's just talk about this. So maybe you've got a free call, maybe you have a free audit, maybe you do some kind of free kind of intro, something to give someone a taste of what you do. So these are just super valuable. I offer free calls. They're 10K content strategy audit calls. I know so many people who give away free services. They do free audits. They do even a test run for free. That is just such a smart thing to do in business, because we want to give someone a taste of what working with us is like, because it's really hard to invest in a high level, high ticket service if you haven't had a taste of it. If you're like, well, they seem great. They seem to have great testimonials and reviews, but it's the Pilates class, you're going to go probably get to try one for free before you sign up and buy a whole batch of them. If you're going to buy a car or a cart or anything, you get to kind of test it. Even before I bought rollerblades, they had a little rink in the place, and I got to try them on and skate around, and I was just yes, sold. I want these rollerblades. So this is just something that, like, whether you're a service provider, whether you actually sell products, people have the test products set up there. Like, we as humans want to try things out. And especially if you are high ticket, $500, $1,000 plus a month or whatever, maybe it's kind of a longer term contract with you or a higher level mastermind or group program, like whatever that is, people need to get a taste of that. And so having your free call, free offer, free taste of it, like that is just so smart and very much like a foundational piece of your sales process, sales journey, funnel, whatever you want to call it. But this is just literally, we're building relationships. And that is kind of the first tier, the first step of someone building a relationship with you. So that's kind of what we're talking about here. Like whatever that first step is for you, and feel free if you're catching it live, if you're hopping on, if you're catching the replay, feel free to drop in the comments or ask me directly in a DM. Like just feel free to bring it of what you offer or ideate about what could that first step be with you. And we can talk about that if you don't have something. But let's just assume that you have something, you have a free call, you have a, whatever taste of working with you is, and you're offering it, you're getting people on there. And so often I'll hear people say that they don't pitch on these because they don't want to be too salesy, or they just want to provide value, and then the person will just figure it out that they need to work with them. And I do not agree with this. And so obviously this is a live stream. I'm not coaching you one-to-one, but if you are someone who's wanting to fill your client roster and keep it full, I would definitely recommend implementing what we're talking about today. If you're someone that's like, I'm pretty full, I have some capacity to take on people, but I don't really care either way, feel free to keep selling without selling, or just letting that kind of very organically for the person to figure out that they need to hire you on their own, like full permission to do that. I have an example recently of that happening. So it does happen. Someone referred someone to me. We had a free call. It was not the right fit. The person that referred them to me, hi Stephanie, thanks for joining. You're just catching the beginning. We're just talking about this. So we're talking about pitching and making sales on your free calls or your free offers or whatever you're offering. But just telling you that, selling without selling isn't necessarily a thing if you're wanting to get a full roster. And right now I'm pretty full. We're opening a one-to-one spot in January, but for the most part, I tend to stay full. But I had this call with someone, it was a free call, and it wasn't the right fit. The person who referred them didn't really understand what I did. So we got on the free call and gave her tons of value, but I didn't sell to her because it wasn't the right fit. And now months later, I think that was back in May or June that we had the call. She just emailed me out of the blue and was like, okay, I know that you do this. How do we talk about getting on a best fit call? And so that was very much like selling without selling. And it did work, but if I'm sitting here I have one client and I want 5, or I have 3 clients and I want 10, if I'm really wanting to fill my roster, we've got to pitch on these free calls or, webinars or whatever you're offering, audits, whatever you're doing for free that's giving someone a taste. Let's talk about how we're going to pitch to that. So we're first just starting with the mindset around this, and that's literally just being direct and making a pitch is how you're going to fill your roster. So again, I'm not coaching you one-to-one right now. This is a live stream, but in general, getting comfortable with making a pitch on your free offer is just something we need to do as a business owner, and it's going to get you to 5K, 7K, 10K so much faster than if you just sold without, or if you did the selling without selling thing. That can work and book you clients for sure. I'm not saying it doesn't, just gave an example. But if you're I want to make 100K this year, in 2024, I want to have 10K months yesterday, start getting comfortable pitching on your call. So my other thought around the mindset of this is, if you're not selling to someone, you're putting all the responsibility on them. Personally, I like being direct. It's just a high value that I have. I come from a family of a lot of women who are passive aggressive, not very direct. So to me, being direct is very important. When I got to college, I found some really great friends who are very direct, and I was like, wow, this is so refreshing. So that's just a high value that I have, is just being direct. And so, this is something that if I'm on a call with someone and I don't pitch to them, it's literally because they're not a right fit, or it's not someone that I see myself working with. And it's nothing against them. Maybe it's just their business or where they're at that time. But if I'm not pitching, it's basically because I don't see them as a potential client or someone I want to work with. And so it's letting them know that like, it's not necessarily them, maybe it's their business, or maybe I didn't feel some kind of coaching connection. But again, I'm not making them figure it out. Like, if I want to work with someone, I'm going to say it. I'm going to be very direct. Like, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I lay it all out there. I lay my cards on the table. If I think someone is a great fit, I'm going to tell them, like, yes, I think you're a great fit. I would love to work with you. And if I don't say that, then it's not really a fit and I don't really want to work with them. And, I'll say, all right, I wish you the best, best to you. But it's kind of that thing where if you're not pitching to someone, the person on the other end may just think you don't want to work with them. Or maybe they think that like you can't help them or you can't solve the problem that they have. Like, you're leaving them to like kind of have all these thoughts and assumptions and like, well, I thought the call went well, but she didn't pitch to me to work with me, so I don't know if it went that well or it's not what she does. Like, they're gonna have all these questions afterwards and just maybe not know what's going on. Like, it's that whole like, he's just not that into you thing. Like, maybe she just wasn't that into me. Maybe she didn't think that, my business is worth helping. Or there's all these thoughts that can come up if we are not pitching to someone. And again, I'm giving you literal evidence that like, if I'm not pitching to someone, it's because I don't see us working together. And great, have a great day, wish you the best. And so just want to normalize that. Like, we want to make it very clear and obvious if someone is a right fit. Like, we want them to know that, and we don't want to send them away like, well, do they want to work together, or is this the kind of thing that they do? So let's just take this mindset that if you want to work with someone, that you can just tell them. Like, it's as simple as that. Like, hey, I want to work with you. You seem like a great person to work with. Like, there are so many people who are not the right fit for what I do. And so when I find someone who is, I want to be sure that I'm clear and that I'm telling them. So use this mindset, because you are creating safety when you're talking to them. Again, otherwise they may go away or walk away thinking all these things that just aren't true. So I'm guessing if you're here, you probably have a small client roster, maybe you're high touch, high service, just knowing that like your capacity is very limited. And so finding the right people that fit in there is just so important. So when you're on a free call, or you do a free audit, or you give some kind of free valuable connection with someone and they seem like the right fit, like, all the permission in the world to just tell them that. So that's where I wanted to start with the mindset piece. So let me know if you're hopping on, if you have any questions about that, because I definitely want to answer that. If you have anything specifically around the mindset around that, because again, that's just kind of like my foundational fundamental piece, is that I'm going to be direct. And so I want to let someone know if they are a good fit. I just want to tell them that. So we'll kind of move into the strategy now around like literally what does that look like. So I'm going to give you a framework. This is not a script. I do not believe in scripts, but I do believe in a framework, and this is going to support you so much. So again, let me know if you have questions. We want to get into the strategy of this. So we'll back up. Before you tell them that you think that they are a fit, we are 100% talking about someone who raised their hand and is asking to be sold to. So I want to be mindful that, when we're talking about pitching to someone, it's because they showed up and basically said, hey, raising my hand. It's not like you're like sliding into their DMs or sending spammy messages, but you're literally having a conversation with someone who booked a call or signed up and raise their hand to be sold to. So this is just super important, because that is when sales really feels gross, is when you literally have done nothing to raise your hand. Like, I get so many emails every day. I get so many DMs from people. I'm like, I've never heard of you. I don't know what you do. I didn't raise my hand. I don't have objections because I don't even want what you offer. Like, you could offer me a puke green t-shirt for $1 and it's still going to be a no, because that's just like not even something I'm interested in. So we want to be very mindful that when you are pitching, it's two people who have raised their hand, and that is like the huge determining factor here. When sales feel icky, it's usually because the person hasn't raised their hand, or if you've had a situation, messing with my hair. If you've had a situation where you've been on the receiving end and was like, sales felt icky, that felt gross, too salesy, it was probably because you didn't raise your hand, not because of like, if you had raised your hand and they did the same thing, it probably would have been the same. I also love the saying that like, if you think you're being too salesy, like that just shows that you're probably not, because people who are too salesy aren't worried about being too salesy. So if you're worried about being too salesy, then just know that you're probably not. But going back to, someone who raised their hand, and I just think about like a mall, and I don't know, I think malls still exist now. I haven't been to one in 100 years. The one here in Charleston, I think, is basically converted into like MUSC offices. So I think there are still malls out there, but I have not been to one. But I think about, the stores in the mall, and then you're walking through the mall and there's all the little kiosks. And I would always like, head down, don't look those people in the eye. They would be like reaching out to you like, miss, let me give you this, hand cream, or I don't even know what they were selling, but they would just like jump out at you from their kiosk, and you're just like, no, divert your eyes, keep going, walk faster. Like you just were like, oh, versus walking into a store, touching the clothes, looking at them, like, and then a, salesperson comes up and talks to you, and it's like, yes, please talk to me. I literally walked into the store. I'm looking at all this stuff. Let's start a conversation, because that is the difference. Like when you're in the mall trying to walk by the kiosk people who are just jumping out at you, like that's kind of the equivalent of selling to people who haven't raised their hand. And so we are talking about the people who have walked into the store, who are looking at the clothes, touching them, holding them up, maybe wanting to try something on. That's who we're talking about. So want to be very mindful that we're making this distinction. And so this is who we're pitching to. We're not the person at the kiosk who's just jumping out at anyone and everyone. It's someone who has signed up for your free call, signed up for your audit, whatever it is. Like this is who we're talking about. So want to be very mindful about that. So again, let's talk about how we set up literally the verbiage. And again, this isn't a script, it's a framework for you to use and tweak for your business. And feel free to hop on one of my free calls. They're 10K content strategy audits. If you wanted to practice this and run through it, more than happy to do that. It's a great use of 30 minutes of free one-to-one support. So if you're trying to figure out what your offer is, or like literally how do we do this for my business, book a call and we can do that. But right now I'll kind of just give you a general overview. So if you're getting on a free call, free audit, whatever, you're one-to-one, creating a personal relationship with this person, you're saying, how are you doing? This is just literally how you're kicking off the call. Like, where do you live? Like, what's going on? You're just doing these personal, like you're getting familiar with them, like kind of breaking the ice, like you're a human, I'm a human, let's just connect and talk. And that's just kind of how you're starting the call. And then you're going to just tell them, hey, this is a free call. This is a free audit. This is literally what you just signed up for. So what we're going to do is talk about this, or look at, your website or whatever. And then after that, I want to make sure that maybe you have some takeaways, or that whatever you like have said that you're going to do when they signed up for the call, just reiterate that for them. Like, this is what we're here to do. This is kind of what I see you walking away with. And then like, hey, at the end of the call, I would, if it feels like something I can support you with, I would love to tell you about what that could look like. Does that feel good for you? So those are kind of the literal, like you don't have to use those exact words, but it's just that framework of setting up the call and setting up what to expect. So it's telling them again what they signed up for, what you're going to do, what they're going to walk away with. And then at the end, hey, if this feels like something we can still go deeper on, I'd love to tell you how I can support you with that. Like, that's literally it. That is how it's going to make the call feel so much better for you and for them. And then you're asking them like, hey, does that sound good? Does that sound like something that, works for you? And this is their permission to be like, yes or no. Like if they're like, actually, no, I don't, then it's like, okay, full permission to hop off the call. Like that is like you getting that just buy-in from them, getting that like permission, and like, this is literally how it's going to go and what it's going to look like. Does that feel good for you? Because that is so powerful for them to know that like, hey, I could just jump off now if that didn't feel good for me. So you're giving them that question is just huge. And also, the key here too is just letting them know that at the end, you can talk about what working together would potentially look like, because so many studies have shown that if we think that we're going to be sold to, our brains shut down. Like if I am, if someone knocks on my door who is like going door to door and they're like, hey, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm immediately just like, I can't even think, because I'm just like waiting for them to, like, what's the pitch? What's the catch? What are they selling me? Like my brain kind of shuts down and doesn't think, because I just know that like a pitch is coming at me and I'm just waiting for it. And so there's so many studies that just show this, that back this up, that like our brains literally kind of shut down, like if we think we're about to be sold to. So that is like some of the key phrasing. And you can just say like, at the end, I'd love to tell you how I could continue to support you. Or if it feels like a good fit, I'd love to tell you about my offer. Or if there's more work to do, I'd love to tell you about how we can do that. Like any of those kind of iterations of that, just pick what feels good to you or what feels right for your situation. It really just gives them like just safety, so that they know like, okay, I can relax. We're going to give value. We are actually going to give me some takeaways. We're going to look at my website. We're going to look at my content strategy. We're going to look at how I schedule my day, or whatever you're helping them with. Feel free to drop in the comments what you do, or if you like want to ideate together, totally fine. But really just letting them know like, hey, we're going to do this first, and then at the end we can talk about it. Does that make sense? So it's really letting them relax. It's letting them get all the juiciness out of the call or the audit or whatever it is that you're doing, because they know like, okay, I know how this call is going to go. I can see the beginning and the end and everything in between. I know the plan. Like I can just relax and let this person support me for free, and let them just like support the shit out of me, or whatever it is that the person signed up for. Like they just get to be taken care of. And like that feels so good. And they'll have such a better experience because of that. Like literally just not feeling like, if you're doing 20 minutes of whatever, looking at their website for them, like they're probably sitting there the whole 20 minutes like, when is this chick gonna sell to me? Or what's the catch here? Like, when's this shoe gonna drop? Because I know she's gonna sell to me. So when is that gonna happen? And they're just not really paying attention to the value that you give. So when that pitch does come at the end, then they're like, oh yeah, okay, their brain is like, yes, I've been waiting for this. Here it is. Here's the sales part. They walk away with like not getting the full value of what you just did, and just kind of feeling like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen. Yeah, of course. We don't want it to feel like a bait and switch. Like that is not what we want at all. And so just setting it up on the front end of like, hey, this is what we're doing today. This is what I see you walking away with. At the end, I would love to tell you about how I can support you. Or at the end, if it feels good to continue, like what else we could do together, I would love to tell you about that. Like literally just set that up. It is so simple. And this is not rocket science. This is not something I invented. Like this is just kind of like sales process knowledge that's out there, but so many people don't know about it. And it can just make your free call, free audit, whatever, feel so much better, so much easier, and just like flow. And then it's amazing. Most people at the end, when you've given them a shit ton of value and you're like, hey, I see us actually, we could do this, this, and this. And then they're like, okay, yeah, actually tell me more about that. Like, okay, it feels so much better for them, because they're like, they have a problem that they want solved. And unconsciously or consciously, they might be hoping it's you that can solve that problem. Like they want someone to solve the problem, and they don't want to have to like search through 50,000 people or get on 50 free calls. Like they probably want their problem just to be solved. And so letting them know like, hey, I choose you. And this is when like we go back to in the beginning when we were talking about choosing them. It's like, hey, yeah, we've had this free call today. I get your vibe. I kind of understand your business, and I really choose you and would like to support you. So just having that open, clear conversation just like makes it so much easier. And then asking them in the end, hey, I really can see that we could do these things together. I see XYZ potential. Like, do you want to hear about it? And again, 99.9% of the time, they're going to say yes. And if they don't, that is their chance to be like, actually, no, we're good, I'm gonna hop off. Like, and that just doesn't really happen, but most people are just gonna be like, actually, yeah, that was really helpful. I would love to hear more about it. Or they might just be like, hey, I don't have any money right now, but sure, tell me about it. And it's like, it doesn't even have to be about the money or having the money conversation, but just literally letting them know like that you see potential to work together. This is when it just fills your roster and gets you to 5K, 7K, 10K months so much faster versus if you just got on the call, gave a ton of value, and then you're like, okay, hope that was helpful, bye. They might walk away and be like, I don't know, is this something she can help me with? Or did she not want to work with me? Or, maybe like 7 months later, they're like, oh yeah, I think that girl I got on the call with, I guess maybe she does this stuff. Like, this just facilitates and moves things faster along. Again, like, it's not like selling without selling. We'll never book a client, but it makes this so much more clear. It makes the sales process so much better. It makes you getting on free calls, like, actually excited about it. Like, if I were just getting on free calls and at the end I'm just like, bye, hope you enjoyed it. Like, I wouldn't want to do that many free calls, but if I'm actually getting on there and supporting the shit out of someone and I'm excited because I'm like, hey, I feel like I know you and your business and like I really see some potential here. Like, let's talk about it. Like, that's just fun and exciting. Like, that's what we got into business to do. Like, that's just the excitement of it. And like, even if they don't want to, or it's not the right time or whatever, like, at least you still get to lay it all out on the table and like make that pitch. And it is shocking, or it's shocking, but it's not, but it's just, it happens so much faster for you to get full when you're actually just being upfront like this. Like, not pussyfooting around it or, going the back way. Like, it's like, hey, like, this is a thing. Do you want this? Do you want to talk about it? Like, just being that direct, to me, I find to be so refreshing in business. So, yeah, that's kind of what I have to say about this framework. We're going to wrap this up. So, to me, pitching to someone and asking for a sale or asking if they'd like to hear about what it'd be like to work with you, to me, that is heart-centered. It is so, in my opinion, not heart-centered to not sell to someone and just let them figure it out on their own or expect them to like connect the dots, go off, work through their objections or their insecurities or not being able to give themselves permission, and then come back to you when they're perfectly ready to buy. Like, to me, that's bullshit. That is not heart-centered. That is not what I'm sure any of us are intentionally doing. But if we're not letting people know, like, hey, I can help you, let me support you, like, they're just gonna have to go do all this work themselves and then come back to you like a perfectly ready, level 10 fit client. Like, and that's just not reality. And you're just going to get so many more clients faster when you're actually a human, building relationships with other humans and letting them show up and to share their mess or to share their objections or whatever's coming up for them. When you're available for that, you are like ahead of the other people that do what you do. Like, you're holding space for someone that like most people just are not. So that is the mindset to take around this, that pitching and letting people know how you can help them is heart-centered. And then we also talked about like, hey, these are people that raised their hand. These are people that signed up to your free call, your audit, whatever it is. Like, you're not just grossly sliding into DMs or emails or just, hey, this random person on the internet and I'm just gonna send them a message that I send all my people. Like, this is not that. These are people who are like genuinely like, hey, I've raised my hand, I want to build a relationship, and you're having this conversation with them. So then you're also setting up the call with the framework of, hey, so glad to meet you. This is what this call is for. This is what I see us talking about, what you can walk away with. And then at the end, if it feels good or if I still see potential or maybe we want to talk about X, Y, Z, I would love to be available and tell you about that. Does that feel good? Like, that's literally this whole conversation in a nutshell, is we are here to support the other person. And if they say no, great, have a great day. Like, you're totally empowered adult. You're asking for their buy-in. You're asking on the front end to really get that, like, at the beginning of the call, and then when you jump into the conversation at the end of the call, and just letting them kind of guide that, guiding those next steps so that you're not just like, okay, well, we did some great work together, so now I'm going to sell you on this. It's literally like, hey, this is what we did today. This are kind of your action steps or takeaways or what I recommend. And then I really see this potential. Would you like to have that conversation? So you're still just like letting them know that they are very much a participant in this conversation. It's just not someone that you're just like, okay, now this is the end where I just say my spiel and like throw things at you whether or not you want it. Like, again, we're being very mindful that we are talking to a human in front of us, at like a human. Like, we're not just giving them a script or anything like that. It's just literally like, okay, we've built this relationship. I'd love to tell you how I can support you more. So that's pretty much it. That's kind of all I have to say about that today. So I hope this was helpful. Again, if you're catching it now or the replay, ask your questions, your comments. I'm going to put the link below. I have my own 10K content strategy audit call. We have 3 left this year. Yay! So that's super fun. Again, I'm opening a 1-to-1 spot in January, so we'll have that coming available. And just getting on a free call is just the first step. We can talk about, maybe, do you have this in your sales process? Do you have like an initial easy next way for someone to build the relationship with you, whether it's a freebie that they get or a call or an audit? Like, if you don't have that piece, get on this 10K call, because that's just kind of the foundational piece of your content, because you're going to need to be selling it in your content. Or maybe you're like, I have this piece, but people haven't been getting on it. I don't know how to build traction. It's not building any momentum. Get on the call. We can talk about that, getting visible, looking at your messaging. Maybe people are getting on your call or taking you up on it, and you've not been able to convert those people. Let's talk about that. Like, we can use this 30 minutes of support for anything that's really going to support you, so that you can walk away and get your client roster full, make your 5K, your 7K, 10K, 20K, whatever K months. Like, this is free 1-to-1 support for you. So I will be back next week. Next Wednesday is my birthday, so I'll have a special masterclass for that. And again, I'll drop the link below for the free call. Take me up on it. This is your time. I know that the actions you take now are what's going to result in your clients in 2024. So let's get a jump start on that now. So I'll see y'all next week. Have a great day.